Good day, everyone. I am Janine Ricudig, and welcome to Microeconomics. Our discussion for today is all about consumer behavior and the theory of reduction. Here's what you will find in this topic. Consumer behavior is everywhere and every day. So, what is consumer behavior? Consumer behavior reflects to the totality of consumers' decision with respect to the acquisition, consumption, and disposition of goods, services, activities, experiences, people, and ideas by decision-making units. Yung consumer's behavior includes not only buying tangible product such as book, foods, clothes, but also the use of consumer services, activities, and experiences such as haircut, going to the movie film, or taking a vacation, and buying products. Consumer make decision like sa pag-google nila ng oras sa paggamit ng Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And yung consumer behavior involves more than buying. There are broad categories in which consumer make decision. We have three categories here. The first one is acquisition, consumption, and the last, disposition. The acquisition include various ways of obtaining offerings such as renting, sharing. Consumption. After consumer obtaining an offering, they use it. For usage, consumers can be satisfied or feel regret from the purchase depending sa experience. With the usage, consumers provide positive or negative reviews about the product or services. As consumer reviews influence other consumers significantly, it is important to satisfy consumers' needs and wants. Disposition. Consumers get rid of an offering in various ways, and it also provides important implication for marketers. Consumers can give away their used product or sell them, lend them to others, or throw them away. And yung mga environmentally conscious consumers put an effort into recycling and reducing waste, and they even try to choose biodegradable products. Beside the above three categories, please also keep in mind that consumer behavior is a dynamic process because the acquisition, consumption, and disposition can occur over time in a dynamic order. It can involve people, manage decisions such as where, when, and how to buy a product. Okay, we're done discussing consumer behavior, so let's move on to the theory of reduction. Production is very important in many kind of business, otherwise can be economy and society grow without that. During the primitive days, people lived by just hunting and fishing, but it's no longer exists. Most of the product na nakikita natin, binibili natin sa market are manufactured by raw materials, came from the nature. This process is called production. What is production? Production is the creation of goods and services to satisfy human wants and other needs. Enigo defines production as the creation of anything of value such as goods, services, or ideas that people want and are willing to pay for. Herculano defines production in contemporary times as the creation of products or services and conversion or transformation of resources into a finished physical product or services needed by the market or consumers. There are 5 M's of production: manpower, money, machine, materials, and methods. These are the inputs needed in the creation of goods and services, which is required from management, minimize costs, and maximize profit. Factors of production are economic resources which are needed to produce goods and services. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Input-output relationship. Production is an activity where inputs are transformed into output. To be able to do it, the following are required: assembling the necessary input and transforming the input through a recipe and technical process into output of goods and services. The process of production table shows that the raw materials are converted into the finished product through successive stage of processing and are ready for marketing. Categories of production activities. Number 1, unique product production. 2, rigid mass production. 3, flexible mass production. And last, process of flow production. Production functions. The output of a production process will depend on the quality and quantities of input used. Various combination of input will result to the different quantities and qualities of output. The relationship between the amount of inputs required and the amount of output that can be obtained is referred to as the production function. Okay, I'm done discussing the consumer behavior and the theory of production. So let's move on to the next discussion.
Everyone, our topic for today's video is all about determinants of consumer behavior. And what is consumer behavior? Consumer behavior, the psychology behavior including the subconscious factors that drive consumers' action is nothing short of fascinating. Consumer behavior is influenced by a wide range of factors including: number 1, personal factors. This includes a person's age, gender, income, education, occupation, and lifestyle. The personal factors are the individual factors to the consumers that strongly influences their buying behaviors. Example: the personal factors include childhood experience, knowledge and education, personalities and self-control, sense of control, values, political and world views, goals, felt responsibility, cognitive biases, place attachment, age, gender, and chosen activities. Number 2, psychological factors. This includes a person's motives, attitudes, perception, learning, and beliefs. There are 4 psychological factors that influence consumer behavior: motivation, perception, learning, and attitude. Example: psychological factors are processes that occur inside of the body, typically below the field of conscious perception. For example, stimulation due to caffeine, hemorrhages, or simply stabbing one's stone could all be considered by psychological factors. These factors affect one's ability to think or cognition. Number 3, social factors. This includes a person's family, reference groups, social class, and culture. The main social factors affecting consumers' behavior are family, roles, and status. Social factors have a direct impact to the consumption and purchasing behavior of people. Example: socially factors are things that affect someone's lifestyle. This could include wealth, religion, buying habits, education level, family size and structure, and population density. What may be acceptable in our country could be a possible no somewhere else. Number 4, marketing mix factors. This includes product, price, promotion, and place. Marketing mix is the combination of strategies and activities that companies use to sell their goods and services. By focusing on people who buy a company can pick the right features for the product, the right price and distribution outlets, and the right words and approaches for promoting the product. Example: product, price, promotion, and place form the four pieces of the marketing mix. These are the key factors that are involved in introducing a product or service to the public. Number 5, situational factors. This includes the physical environment, time, and the reason for the purchase. They include things like physical factor, social factor, time factor, the reason for the buyer purchase, and purchase mood. An example: situational influences are temporary conditions that affect how buyers behave. They include physical factors such as a store buying location, layout, music, lighting, and even smells. Number 6, technological factors. This includes the advancement in technology which have made shopping easier and more convenient for consumers. Example: how the technology is exerting its influence on consumer behavior. Social media, online opinions, mobile devices, and payments integration of technologies. And number 7, economic factors. This includes the advancement in technology which have made shopping easier and more convenient for consumers. The economic factors are the factors that talk about the level of sales in the market and the financial position of the consumer. Economic factors include economic growth, percentage of employment, inflation, interest and exchange rates, and commodity oil, steel, gold, etc. prices. These affect the discretionary income and purchasing power of households and organizations alike. All of these factors can influence a consumer's decision-making process and ultimately affect their behavior towards a particular product or services. At yun lang po ang aming report. Sana po may naiintindihan kayo. Bye-bye! Ingat!
Good day everyone, I'm Maria Bernadette Ubias and I am assigned to report about theory of utility. So before we go on, pag-usapan muna natin or i-define muna natin ang theory of utility. So ano nga ba ang theory of utility? The theory of utility is an economic concept that aims to explain how people make decisions based on their preferences and the available resources. Utility is the measure of the satisfaction or well-being that a person derives from consuming a good or service. It is subjective and varies from person to person. The theory of utility assumes that individuals are rational and will always choose the option that provides them with the highest level of utility, given their preferences and the constraints they face. There are two main types of theory of utility. First, total utility is the aggregate amount of satisfaction or fulfillment that a consumer receives through the consumption of a specific good or service. And marginal utility is a concept in economics that refers to the additional satisfaction or utility that a person derives from consuming one more unit of a good or service. Let's say a consumer has a budget of 500 pesos to spend on food for the week. The consumer has a preference for both rice and noodles, but values them differently. After considering the price and the quality of the food, the consumer decides to buy 2 kilograms of rice for 200 pesos and 10 packs of instant noodles for 100 pesos. According to the theory of utility, the consumer made this decision because they believe that consuming this combination of rice and noodles will provide them with the highest level of satisfaction or utility given their preferences and budget constraints. The total utility the consumer gets from consuming the 2 kilograms of rice and 10 packs of instant noodles is the sum of the marginal utility of each food multiplied by the quantity consumed. For example, let's say the marginal utility of each kilogram of rice is 50 and the marginal utility of each pack of instant noodles is 20. The total utility the consumer gets from consuming 2 kilograms of rice is 100, and the total utility the consumer gets from consuming 10 packs of instant noodles is 200. Based on this, the consumer can see that they get more total utility from consuming 2 kilograms of rice and 10 packs of instant noodles than from consuming any combination of rice and noodles, given their budget constraint. This is an example of how the theory of utility can be applied to consumers' decision-making process in the Philippines. where rice and noodles are common food choices.
A pleasant day, everyone. I am Jerome Sparone, your reporter for today. I am discussing the four types of economic utility and their characteristics. In behavioral economics, the four types of economic utility are form utility, time utility, place utility, and possession utility. These terms refer to the psychological importance attached to different forms of utility. For example, form utility is the result, the designs of a product or service, and time utility refers to the ability of a company to provide services when the customers needs them. I am going to discuss the four types characteristics of utility. The first type is form utility is the value that an item has been on the form that it takes. Individual car parts have value, but when someone assembles the into a functional vehicle, the utility the cars offers a higher than the utility offered by each parts alone. And the second type of characteristics of utility is time utility. It's the satisfaction that a product offers to a consumer based on when they receive the product. A hungry consumer receives more pleasure from food than someone who just ate. If a consumer never encounters a product, even its high quality, they never receive this utility. The third types of characteristic utility is place utility. Is the value that a product offers based on where the product is. If you're hiking, a hiking backpack provides significant utility. If you're trying to bring your books to school, a hiking backpack works, but isn't quiet. It is useful, offering less value. If you're staying at home for the next few weeks, the bag provides much less utility. And the last characteristic of utility is possession utility. Possession utility describe the utility to someone offers based on who has the item. In a store has value, but it doesn't provide as much value as it would if we're in a consumer's DVD player letting group of people watch the movie. The DVD offers additional utility because someone who will use it to possess it, and that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm here to talk about the equimarginal principle. By the end of this video, you understand how economists expect the rational consumer to use the equimarginal principle in determining how to maximize utility. Before we learn more about the equimarginal principle, we must set a few assumptions. First, consumer income is fixed, held and constant. Prices do not change and neither do taste and preferences. We also make a significant assumption that a consumer is able to perform utility calculation and multiple goods. In the reality, this is far from the case. There are many reasons why consumer may not engage in the rational behavior, but we will examine that in the video following this one. The equimarginal principle states that consumer utility is maximized where the marginal utility per dollar or the other unit of currency for all goods is equal in the equation. MU represents the marginal utility received from the consumption of good. P represents the price of good. A, B, and C represent three different goods. We could continue this for as many choices and consumer faces. If you imagine yourself in the supermarket, you can understand how overwhelming it can be maximize utility from the expenditure of your next dollar when considering amongst thousands of goods. For now, let's just focus on using this two simplified model. Let's consider two goods. Product A which costs $5 per unit and product B which costs $10 per unit. We'll start with the table of quantity consumed and associated total utility. I will use the word utils in this lesson, which means unit of utility. In this table, we can see the total utility gain from the consumption of 1 to 5 units of product A. Total utility is still rising, but we learn from the from before marginal utility is not, we next need to calculate the marginal utility for each unit of product A. The marginal utility in this case is the difference between the total utility at that quantity is consumption minus the previous total utility since we are always increasing by 1 unit. We don't need to divide the marginal utility gain. The marginal utility as we consume our first unit is 100. Given the total utility of quantity is 0 is 0. Total utility increased to 170 as consumed the second unit, so the second unit adds 70 utils after 3 units. Total utility rises to 220, which is an additional 50 utils. This continues with the fourth, which brings 30 additional utils, and finally the fifth units, which bring 10 additional utils. The last step we need to do is to calculate the value of marginal utility per dollar for each level consumption. For the first utility, our marginal utility is 100. Since the price of $5, our marginal utility per dollar is equal to 20. Essentially, $1 is worth 20 utils. We continue this calculation for the second unit, arriving at 14 utils per dollar, 10 utils per dollar for the third, 6 for the fourth, and 2 for the fifth. Now that we have this complete, let's do something for the product B. Similar to product A, we have total utility table to consuming 5 units to product B. The utility values look much higher here, but remember, we need to consider marginal utility and marginal utility per dollar in this case. Marginal utility decreases as more units to product B are consumed at the first units bring marginal utility of 180, the second 150, the third 90, the fourth 60, and the fifth unit is 30 utils. As we did before, we must do again to calculate the marginal utility per dollar for our first unit. We divide 180 utils by the price of $10. The price of $10 resulting in 18 utils per dollar. The second gives us 15 utils per dollar, and the third 9, the fourth 6, and the fifth, and the final unit provides 3 utils. Now, let's bring both product A and product B together assuming a $60 budget. If I have a budget of $60, I should consume the product that gives me highest values of marginal utility per dollars. Facing a choice, I will first purchase product A as a 20 is greater than 18. That will cost me $5. I will then purchase a unit of B for $10. Third, I will purchase a unit of good B for an additional $10. Fourth, I will select product A to a price of $5. I still have about $30 left, so I will continue to spend. Fifth, I will consume a unit of product A for $5. Sixth will be a unit of product B for $10. 7. I am indifferent between product A and B, but I will choose product A to $5. I still have $10 and that will be spent on a fourth unit of product B. I have now spent my entire $60 and maximized my utility. I purchased 4 units of each. Next, I will do a quick check of my work to ensure this correct given on budget constraints. If I have a $60 and purchase 4 units, A at $5 each, that is $20 gone. That leaves me $40, and if I purchase 4 units and B at $10 each, that is remaining $40 gone. This works out and have maximized my utility. This is the topic that I brought. I hope you understand about the equimarginal principle. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Bea Arnabe and I am the reporter today. The topic is all about the income and substitutions effects. So what is income effects? Income of the consumer increases and decreases, result in the change of quantity of the goods both. The price of the commodity increases and decreases. For example, If the price of meat increases, then the higher price may encourage consumers to switch to alternative food sources such as buying vegetables. So, what is substitution effect? The substitution effects measure how much the higher price encourages consumers to buy these different goods, assuming the same level in. For example, how a change in the price of a good affects demands compared to others. If the price of apples rises, consumers will substitute apples for other goods like bananas.
Good day everyone, my report is all about the law of diminishing returns. So what is the law of diminishing returns? The law of diminishing returns is an economic principle stating that as investment in a particular area increases, the rate of profit from that investment after a certain point cannot continue to increase if other variables remain at constant. So pag sinabing the law of diminishing returns, it refers to increasing one input in a productions while the other inputs remain constant. It states additional of a single factor of production will result in a decreasing output of production. So if you are a producer or if you have a company, and for example, meron kang restaurant and you have a one cook, pero if one cook your restaurant is pumatok or nag-boom, syempre mataas na yung demand mo, mataas yung profit mo, you will hire more. Halimbawa, nag-hire ka ng 5. So, naging marami na yung service ng employer, marami kang yung nagagawa, nagiging cook or menu sa isang araw. So, if you are added a single factor of production because akala mo mas tataas yung productivity, but ultimately it result in a decreasing output of production. So, akala mo yung 5 cook mo hindi nagkakasundo, or if the cook yung chef mo hindi nagkakasundo, nagko-compete sila, it will result in a decreasing output of production. So, yun na ang tinatawag natin na the law of diminishing returns. Negativity, yung productivity pays diminishing returns, and yung negative returns sa ating company or what. Yun lang.